Hi guys, good morning. Uh, Amy here. So I'll try not to make this too long. We're talking about past lives and um, how do you know when you've had a past life? How do you know what your past lives are? And much less, how do you know when you've had a past life with a certain person on Earth? Um, for me, and I wrote about this, it's usually your biggest fears are part of your past life, because it's probably how you died or trauma from other past lives. And so in your life, maybe you're afraid of swimming because you drowned in a past life, maybe several, or you're afraid of guns, which people should be. That's a natural feeling that we should have, but or afraid of authority figures or parents, afraid of relationships because you had, many lifetimes where you were under the hands of an abuser. So it's like your fears and your paranoias, things you just absolutely don't want to do because your soul is saying, I don't want to do that again. That's kind of how you know what your past life is. They're indicators. Now your uh things that you really love, things that you're really drawn to, those are also indicators of your past life. So if you have something, let's say you were Mozart. I love to use this example. Let's say you were Mozart in a past life. Well, you're always going to love music. It doesn't mean you're going to have talent, but you probably would like the music of Mozart or hate, depending on how you felt that experience was in that life. Maybe he got really sick of his music and writing music, and the next life he absolutely hates it. But I would think it would be more like you would love it and you would love music and you would be a natural, you would be drawn to all things music, composition. And so, but you may not have that talent. And I remember thinking one time that when people have a shock to the system and all of a sudden they can start a near-death experience, hit by lightning, what have you, and all of a sudden they know how to play, they're a genius at piano and composition, or they're an artist, or they know how to speak another language. That's because it opened up the amnesia that we have when we are born into this particular persona, sign, what have you. So, like with John, it was like I could see, looking back now, I see the indicators of how he started we all have our higher selves. So, but his higher self and him on the other side after his death, beginning to try to wake me up and contact me. And I actually, looking back now, I figured it out pretty early. It could have taken other people their entire lifetimes, but I figured it out right around probably, 18, but I started to before that. So looking back, said that a lot, but all through my teen years, when I thought a guy was cute, he usually always had dark hair and dark eyes and glasses. So even like in the movie The Ghostbusters, I always thought Egon was cute. Um, there's just, it's little indicators like that where I would see someone who now I see is the John look, where I was seeking out. That's what my heart was seeking out. Not that looks matter. I don't care about looks. Shouldn't matter. Okay, but that's an indicator. Other indicators, things that we're so much alike. I talked about how he had Aunt Mimi. Well, I had Aunt Khaki. And just like he went back and forth between two households, I did too. We had so many things where we were alike. And okay, I can't explain it for you. I could pull cards for you. I think that works. But as I always say, you know when you know, and it will unfold itself. If you seek, you will find. What happened to me was I started to ask a lot of questions to myself, like, who am I? I remember that very specifically. The summer I was 18, you know, when I graduated high school, I got my first car, I got a job, and I had all that new freedom. And that whole summer, I started to awaken to who I am. Before that, I was, little Catholic Amy, and that's nothing wrong with being sweet. I'm still a sweet person. I'm actually more um, ethical now, like with kindness, because honesty, I believe, makes you an ethical person. You own up to yourself. But I was, sweet little innocent Amy, and raised as a Catholic, listened to the music that everyone else listened to. And when I turned 18, that all changed all of a sudden without the influence of people in high school and, certain radio, culture being pushed on me. All of a sudden I had this, I was seeking who I was. And I kept asking, who am I? And so as I sought, I started to eliminate all that stuff I didn't like, all the stuff that was, Amy, that I'd had this experience with my mother where, I was the good daughter. I was the good daughter. And guess what that got me? I would protect my sister from getting, the shit kicked out of her by my mom every night, it seemed like. And then I got the shit kicked out of me because I was protecting myself. So, good little Amy got betrayed by her mother. And I love my mother, but it was things like that where I started to see that good little Amy was betraying herself. And good little Amy needed to find out who she was, because at that point, when I was 18, I was so devastated with authority and life. My mother and my father, he was off somewhere, and, God. And I started to really question everything. And that brought me to who I am. And I have this phrase that always comes to mind: you become who you are. And it's like shedding everything that you were taught that you were supposed to be, that you think you are. And it's really, I have a lot of survival tactics for my childhood. But you become who you are. And once you become who you are, I almost feel like, yes, it opens your eyes to all your past lives. Your higher self holds all of that. And I do feel that we should find out who we are in past lives, because it does. At a certain point in your life, you're supposed to feed the source, which is your higher self and which is God and all that. If you die and you go back and you're like, I didn't learn anything because I was a good, person and read all the Bible passages, and I didn't look at anything or learn it or feel or think, well, you bring nothing back to source. You bring nothing back to your higher self. So you have to do the messy work of becoming who you are, and a proverbial closet of digging everything out of the closet and getting rid of the bad stuff and keeping and finding the good stuff. Maybe that you didn't even know. Like, I didn't know that I was such a free spirit. I didn't know that I was so, like the thing that I loved about John was that he was so honest and brutally so. And, it brought me to tears. Like, it just humbled me how honest he was. Everything he did. At some point, he became extremely honest because he didn't want to look in the mirror and be lying to himself, So I love that. I responded to that. That's who I was. I remember there was just that point where I was just walking around and I'm like, I'm so happy that I found this secret that that there are people with deep souls and deep high purposes in life, and not just, to be an accountant or a nurse, or, to live in a big house somewhere and, go to church every week, and you have to be the Stepford wife and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm an artist. That's really what it woke up in me. I was an artist, and I have an artist soul and a spirit, and I take things very much to heart and take things very deeply. I'm a very deep person, I think. We've all faltered in our life, but at the end of the day, I've always, been extreme, almost to a point where it's painful. But anyway, so John, you woke me up and I saw that picture of him and it said, "The Lives of John Lennon." And I looked in his eyes and I was like, I know this guy, I know him. Of course, I was also looking into the eyes of someone who was, an Egyptian and a painter and a philosopher. And I feel like John could have been Mozart, and Iroquois Indian, many, many things, many things. I was looking to the eyes of that person. And in a way, because we're kind of twin soul, I was looking into the eyes of myself. And that's another reason why I responded so deeply, because when you find your twin soul, and we're all in a soul group, right? You see yourself. You see what you love about and hate about yourself. That's kind of, okay, stay on track. How would you know? How do you know what your past lives are? Well, I just said, become who you are. Ask, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? It's painful, but when you ask, you find. And the rest of the world may never understand. I think that's one of the hardest things, is that other people, the people around you, may not ever understand. And sometimes it's your family who has the hardest time. The people who you think would love you most, those people are the least likely to understand, because they only know you and only want to know you in one way. So I have more to say. I mean, I want to make a video where I talk about John and all the beautiful synchronicities. I've kind of mentioned a lot of that. But for now, I'll just leave it at this, that if you want to know what your past lives are, and the Christian culture does not believe in past lives. Why? Because they only want, I guess it must have something to do with the miracle of life, that God creates, each life perfect as it is, no change. Then you devote yourself, to God, and you deliver yourself to God as this perfect being. But to God, you brought him nothing, or her. You literally brought him or her an empty plate by not developing yourself. The sort of Indian, Middle Eastern culture, all those sort of mystic cultures, they believe in reincarnation because they know. I feel like by breathing and going within, they see. That's why they know and believe in past lives, because they don't just close themselves and have information come in from the outside. They go within, and our within is God. It is the universe. It is us. We are all connected. I'll leave it at this. Thanks for listening. And that's very glitchy. I don't know why. I'm in just this room and the little ring light on. I kind of look like I'm a hologram, but whatever. Thanks for watching, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.